Welcome to another video as of our Father's promise. Now, thank you for joining me today on another time of us edifying our spirit. Now, why are we talking about edifying our spirit? Well, it's so that we can make it into the promised land. Now, there are a lot of people that play games on in life that could be atheist, pagans, whatever, right? Just non believers of Christ. But they like to play charade with the truth. But they like to tell people their opinions, but they don't like to listen to intakes. So this is for you as well. If you're one of those people that happen to come across this video, know that truth can only be truth, right? If it makes sense and it's real, right? Otherwise, we're calling it fallacies. And that's just the simplest way to say it without trying to sound all intellectual, right? As if we need all of these words to really make something, or just to to complicate things that don't need to exist. Now, as of the moment, right, I want you guys to understand that it's very important that we realize the actions of how our perception is, not just like the things that we do in this world, but how our perception is. And the reason why I say how our perception is and not what we do, right, is because in order for you to do something, you got to already have an idea of how you're going to do it. So when it comes to the word, right, and you've been following and tagging along with the knowledge and the truth that I've been giving you guys, right, you get to come to a conclusion of an understanding that means a lot. Now the reason I say this is because it's very important that we understand who our creator is. For in Yahusha being the Messiah, right, and in him our Elohim, our Adonai being who Yahuwah, right? We need to understand the basis of what is important. But we also got to understand the differentiality between, living good and living a lifestyle. And this is what is killing people. And this is what is dividing people. The lifestyle over just living. And when I say lifestyle, I mean, if obviously you are proclaiming to be Christian, we shouldn't be really following religion because we already know that the by and by was written by man. Because before then, it was not called the by and by, it was the Holy Scriptures, and it had a different name, the Forbidden Scriptures. Not everybody held those scriptures, those tabloids, right? It was only those that were in power, that were in leadership roles, right, that held those tabloids of power, and they were teaching these to men. So when people don't know exactly what they look like, it will kind of make sense as to why there's so much chaos in this world, as to how people are saying that, oh, it was the apostles that wrote, that were led by the Spirit, that wrote these chapters and these chronicles. You could say that, right? But at the end of the day, if that is to be the case, that means that there are people of this new generation or of the old generation before us, right? Probably 2, 3 centuries before us, 4 or 5 centuries before us, that wrote the by and bow. Do we know much about the chronicle, or the biography of King James, or anybody else that has translated these words? Because you can't tell a story per person and it's supposed to be the same. Why not include the person within the story of how they see it, right? So that the story can be logical. Where when you're telling a story, are you going to repeat the story about 10 to 20 times in different pages? Or are you going to tell the full story and include those people by name, who they are, in the section of how how the story is being broken down, you know paraphrase by paraphrase, however you want to say, you can conject the situation or however you want to, right? We like they have objectified our understanding. So when we talk about Pharisees and how these Pharisees have manipulated, right, the way the buy and bow is being given to people is like they're selling you, right, an idea of a lifestyle. They're selling you an idea of a lifestyle, and that lifestyle is based off of what? The same thing that Christ came to the temple and destroyed, because it was the chief priests that were upset at everything that was going on there. That's why they were also very dedicated, right, to destroy Christ, because Christ was revealing a lot of their dirty secrets. They were stopping their business, their money. Yeah, some people like, yeah, if you stop my money, understand your money is the reason why somebody can come and rob you and kill you so they can take it. Your money is the reason why if you don't have enough, you will lose your mind, because you personify and project your conscious, your life, your spirit, your heart into that money. It could be a tool, but if you don't have money, how can you get the tool? So that means that even if you have the logic, the concept of being able to start a fire, you will need money to go and buy a lighter when you don't know that there are different things that you can use to actually start a fire. Does that make sense? No, it does not. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't. I'm going to say this because it's very important, right? I had got into a dispute earlier, throughout the day of, the 15th, obviously today, right, with some unbelievers, and they were saying something about Adam and Eve. And before we get into too much of the topic, right, I want to definitely get this done first. They were discussing a topic about Adam and Eve, right, saying that if Adam and Eve ate off the apple, right, and they were just newly born. If Adam and Eve ate off the apple, right, and they were just newly born, right, and they were newly born, right, and they were newly born, what would actually take place? Would the sins of their actions, right, fall on humanity, or will it fall on our creator? Now, I got to thinking about it. I was like, obviously, it's going to fall on humanity, because our creator told us not to partake in the actions of the fruit. Because it's like saying you have a toddler, you tell the toddler, well, not even a toddler, because their example was a 4-year old. Now a 4-year old is able to comprehend cognitive, ideals of what things are, if it's fire or not fire, right, whatever the case is. We're talking about people that were able to communicate with our creator, that were able to give names to the animals and the things. Presumingly, they wanted to make assumptions, saying, then they started changing the subject, saying they're making assumptions to ideals and all of these things, saying that, oh, what if they were, what if they couldn't really talk? They said that the Adam was just speaking, and well, he wasn't really speaking, he was just saying words, or just saying sounds. If somebody is able to communicate and have some type of cognitive understanding of something, right, wouldn't it mean that their logic is able to profoundly understand what is and what is not? So if somebody's able to understand what is and what is not, that means that what? If you tell somebody to not partake in something, at least one person, that person is going to tell somebody else to not do the same thing. So all of this what and ifs are nothing but what? Assumptions. So you can't be upset at somebody, right? Because you're making an assumption and try to credit the assumption as something that could be valid. Yes, it could be valid because we don't know everything, but to a certain extent, logic, you can't use the word of, the word in the buy and ball to create your claim. And then this it basically contradicted. That's contradictive. So that would mean that your claim has no purpose to exist at all. So if I give you the example of an animal, right, to relate to animal and insects, to relate to human beings that are basically being born, because our mindset when we're infants, right, is basically like somebody that doesn't know anything. It's like a sponge that absorbs in our surrounding, right? I use the word nature and nurture. When something is in nature, right, there is what somewhat of an instinct, right, that is given to that specific object to adapt to a scenario, right, which is still nurture, but nurture is more so the influence that's being what objectified, or you can say that it being projected upon the object. So I gave that example and said that if an animal is born, animals are very intelligent. They're born knowing that this is that, this is that. Even the chemical reactions, they're able to differentiate what is what. How come if a newly born is born and they're able to communicate with our creator, how come they will not have the cognitive ability, right, to understand to not go and eat of or partake of the fruit? Only if they're being manipulated. That's the only way. Because if the insects, like an ant, right, knows where to find sugar at because of these chemical trails that are being led so that it can basically, it can know where its exact location is at, let alone telling their other family members to basically follow that trail so they can go ahead and find food, right? How is that not possible? Because ants, they are born knowing, right? So are you going to blame Adam and Eve for sins that they have did for themselves, let alone our creator did not kill them or murder them? So mercy was shown to them, forgiveness was shown to them. See, when people don't like when you speak a certain way, that really corrupts their narrative. They get upset, right? So mercy was shown to them, forgiveness was shown to them, and not only that, they didn't. Does it not say that Abel was favored unto who? Our Creator, more than Cain, because he was given his heart more so to our Creator than Cain. So not only that, right? The disclosure of their own paraphrase, or you can say their topic or their thesis, was nullified. It's like they nullified their own objective of their narrative because they asked a very stupid question. It wasn't profound at all. How can you say somebody that is talking, you're using the same statement that somebody is talking, right, or communicating with your creator, but your creator does not tell you that what happens after you eat the apple of good and evil, or you partake, because it doesn't. See, that's another thing. I asked them, right, what version of the Bible are they reading from? One person said the King James Version, and then that's what I was just speaking about. Do we know anything about King James? The biography of the man who wrote or translated, because he did not write the Bible. He translated from somebody else. Remember, before the King James Version was what? The Geneva, right? There are other chronicles of books out there that are based off the Bible, right? So if we were to just say that, we can literally take all of these books and put phrase and verses together just so that we can understand how these things are logically explained. So that would be much logical than just to go off of an ideal that obviously doesn't make any sense. And I promise you, I'm not going to hold you guys up here forever. Then an ideal that obviously doesn't make any sense. See, I'm the type of person, I'm very fired up. So when I talk to people, like, I'm respectful, right? when you start to say stuff like your God, right? And immediately I already know, that you are in defense of your own personal trauma that you went through in life, because you can't say that you used to believe in Christ and your family is believing in Christ and you don't. That means there's something along the line that made you depart from that. And you can't say it can't be truth, because even the commandments tell you exactly why it's good to follow the commandments, especially when it comes to living in a certain land, right? That has to do with people being able to create negativity. Now, let's look at it like this, right? Even when we look at the story of Adam and Eve, right? What happens when two people are together? Isn't man and woman supposed to procreate? So if that is to bear fruit, right? Looking at the references of what the words are given, right? If man and woman are to procreate, right? How is it that we still don't understand that the fruit was Cain? Cain was born under the influence of sin. That's the reason why Cain was not favored, unlike Abel. Because Eve was pregnant with Cain when she was coming out of the garden. Eve was pregnant with Cain when she was stepping out of the garden. So when we're speaking about, make believe or just logic, right? We have to understand that yes, you can't use logic to contradict logic unless the logic was not making sense from the first place. So we have to take books from books. Have you read the Apocrypha? Have you read the book of Enoch? Any of those, books, or you can say English, forgive me, chronicles in a chronological order. Have you put these stories together so it can make sense? No, but remember that these are stories. These are not even the full text of what has been given of the original scriptures, meaning the forbidden scriptures. Some people call it the dead scrolls, whatever the case is, whatever that you want to call it, right? But some people don't understand that the truth is the truth regardless, no matter how many people try to pretty it up. Yes, Adam and Eve sinned, and those sins became our birth effect, right? And our birthright. But it doesn't mean that we have to accept sin when we know what sin is, and we were told what sin is, and we still are sinning. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't even make sense, because how can it make sense? That sounds like atheist type of logic to me. Because if your science give a real explanation as to why a potentialist creator could exist, right? How can you deny the fact that that a creator don't exist? So you're contradicting the same thing that you're using. So you're just selectively choosing what you want to like and what you don't want to like, which is fine. That's your opinion, right? Just like I can have my opinion, right? And it could be truth, but then you don't have to selectively choose my truth, or you can selectively choose what you like in my truth, right? To tell your own story. That's why there's so many lies, because first off, people don't know how to tell a story. And when they tell a story, they tell a story based on what they want it to sound like, how they want to sound like, not something that's actually intellectual on how to help, because it doesn't help. The only commandments we talk of is the Mosaic, right? The Mosaic commandments, right? Which is of the old tradition, right? Which is in the Old Testament. Now, a lot of people use those, those tabloids of commandments so that we can live our lives. But you not know that those traditional tabloids are literally been used in our court system. So a lot of people don't know that the Pharisees, the scribes, all of them, they come from pagan practices. And those pagan practices have been basically inherited to the Romans and everything of those other empires that were worshiping the sun, the sky, the moon, the waters, all of these things, the stars. And what do you think is in the United States now? 50 stars in a flag, an eagle, right? The stripes, the capital, Decapolis, Capernaum. Look at your money. Look at your money. Look at the profound meaning as to the things that used to exist back then and now. The similarities and the differences as to what is happening right now. Because it doesn't seem like a lot of people read the word and they don't do their research. They just like to listen to other people. That's what it sounds like. Look things up. I give you guys hints all the time, right? So I give you meaning of words and then try to use it in a different way. I wouldn't even say parable because I don't really give you guys parable. I just give you guys examples. So look up words forward and backwards. Look at the root, meaning, look at the prefix, the suffix, look at all of those things. And in different languages, what are you going to come up with a certain word? First of all, we're talking about the word bi and bal, right? I broke down what the word bi means. Bi, we all know that bi, you can't even use the word bi and say sexual when you know that bisexual means what? Two ways, right? So if it means two, meaning of something and something else, right? Meaning man or woman, dominant or feminine, right? So why are we not understanding and not looking at exactly what the words mean? So if a lot of people know that the image of the Christ that a lot of people are depicting nowadays, right? This which no offense, but we're gonna speak the truth here, right? We're not gonna be lying on this platform. Why are people why do people know that the image of the Christ that is considered Caucasian, right, of the Caucasus Mountains, right, is how do they know that that imagery, right, was a man? I don't even remember his name, but he was the son of a pope or some type of priest. And that man was gay. Not happy, but gay. He liked men as a man. So, how do we know that, right? And we don't take in consideration why there's so much demasculation going on right now. Because if it says that Christ was looking like a rugged man, that means that he did not look all six pack, look at me rip. Like these are literally the imagery that people are putting in your mind. Where people think that having a cross makes you a Christian. It can make you a religious Christian. It doesn't make you a believer. It means that you're walking around with a trinket because that's called idolatry. When you put your faith in your creator and you use an item to basically subjugate whatever that you want to device your specific belief, that's still considered idolatry. That's what I was telling you guys about the Pharisees. All of these manipulation, they use the story of Adam, they use the Mosaic law, right, in the tradition of what they consider the Torah, right, nowadays, right, where I could break that down and it's whew, oh man. And I'm gonna give you one hint, right, about the Torah, and all I'm gonna say is this: spell Torah backwards and pronounce it out of your mouth. And if you tell me there's no relation or some type of similarity, when I told you that the people of the old days, the ancient people of those days are still living today in today's time. They just don't look the same. They just don't have the same bodies. Why do you think Christ has said don't make oaths? It's because even if people die, that doesn't mean that the person cannot come back. It just means that they just can't possess the same body because that body rotted. A man cannot keep his own soul. So when the time for them to perish will come, they will perish. That's why they tell what do I mean by oath, right? What I mean by oath is this. When we're talking about somebody selling their soul or whatever the case is, right? People are selling their contract, people are selling their vessel, right? So that something can come and inhabit in it. Now, depending on exactly what you sold would be the value of possession, right? Just because you sell your soul doesn't mean that no. Just because you sell your soul does not mean that you are going to be possessed. It depends on what your terms and the conditions are. But that still makes you a puppet. It very much still makes you a puppet. But those oaths is what is going to allow certain things that are not natural to happen. The Pharisees, the chief priests, they were performing exorcisms back then in those days. And why? Because they were following tradition. You think that before Christ, you think that when Christ was not there, they were not able to exorcise demons out of people? That's not something that's new. They've been doing that before Christ. It's just that Christ is the name to really, Yahushua is the name to use. That's the reason why they were always confused, because that's the reason why the chief priests, all of those what elders, they were confused because they were confused as to how is Christ, right? They were confused as to how is Christ doing everything that he's doing, casting out demons, healing people without the things that they're doing, without calling on and summoning this, without using this circle or all of these alchemic, right, processes, all of these pagan practices. For one of these verses, they even said that their family, his sisters, are there. Is it not the brother of this, and that, and they're in the church? They're in the temple, they're in the synagogue. So how is it that he knows this and that? That's another reason why another reason why they tried to put him down. And the reason why is because he was exposing the Pharisees, the scribes, because he knew. Just like when the Pharisees always try to come to him and try to talk to him, he knew that every time they come to talk to him, they were going to say something that was stupid, or they were trying to manipulate him. And if it was not him, it would be the 12 disciples. So he always warned the 12 disciples and let them know that, hey, look, those people over there, they're not evil, but they have a lot of evil things. He even called them the children of the viper because they're not snakes, but they act like them. And it could be so much that they might even be the children of the snakes. You wouldn't even know throughout genetics. A lot of people, let me put it like this. Why do you think that they tell people, why do you think when it comes to genealogy, right? Geology, I don't know if I said that proper word. Please help me if you can in the comment section. But when it comes to their genetics, why do you think there's so much this controversy where people do not know their genes? People can know where they're from, but they don't know their blood. They don't know that their blood could come from it could be 13,000, it could be 13 centuries, 14, 15, 18, 20 centuries of different mixture of blood. Remember, there was a period of time where the Nephilim created abominations. They were having children with us, was also people. It wasn't just the people of the Caucasus Mountains. My apologies. It wasn't just people of the Caucasus Mountain. And some of those people that were not of the Caucasus Mountain, that were also of the Caucasus Mountain, had kids with people that were not a part of that relation or those mixtures of blood. And it wasn't everybody from the Caucasus Mountain that had those type of genes either. Where do you think all of these Norse beliefs come from? These giants, when it comes to, they said Norse gods, Norse this, Norse that, Norse this, Norse that. It's still a part of paganism. When people talk about Asgard, all of these things, it's still a part of paganism, this pantheist type of ideology of nature, worshiping nature. But we're going to get into the word real quick because we have to understand something real quick. I want you guys to you don't have to grab your buy and ball, but if you want, go grab it. We're going to be in Matthew's Chronicle of Saints Matthew. This is going to be in chapter 19. And like I said, the tempter, right? I'm going to start ahead of times. And I'm going to say this is going to be the title of this. The tempter always comes to simmer confusion and will proudly speak outwardly with no integrity, as it says what? So much, even the Pharisees felt the need to watch him too, tempting him along the way, getting on his very nerve. They then asked him, is it lawful for any man to not prioritize or remain faithfully to his wife for no reason? Now look at the common time now where people are in relations. How is it that you have a beautiful wife or beautiful husband, whatever the case is, right? And you cannot stay faithful. And you call yourself Christian and you divorce. What sense does that make? Because to my knowledge, right, it says that if you divorce, even if you don't divorce, if you go around and you do anything with anybody else, that is considered what? Idolatry, fornication. It doesn't matter if you remarry, however that is. You can't say to death do us part and you go, no, that's still considered a part of the law regardless. But let's continue though. Let's continue. And this part right here is going to be resist the seduction of evil. For those that reject sexual advances for show, they will be honored of men, but those that do it for the sake of Ellie's words, they will be honored as such. So whosoever understand. So remember when I told you that the devils, the Satans, right, the Lucifers, when they are tempting people, it's not called temptation, is a combination of things that are used to manipulate. So they use what? Conviction, seduction, and what? Manipulation. Manipulation, seduction, and conviction, meaning they try to convince you by either one, by either dropping your guards so that they can attack, and then they can manipulate you. Either they can use your over cautiousness, or they can use your no cautiousness, right? Meaning you either have guards or you don't have guards. Meaning you're either protected or you're not protected. That's why seduction is a very terrible thing. So when you're not easily seducted, that means that you're holding energy. That means that you're being celibate. That means that you know how to control your what? Your libido. Let's go to another one. And the reason why I'm going to say this is because this topic is going to say rich equal less likely to be good. Because in verse 23, right, it says, it's easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of the heavens. Remember the young man, right, that came to Christ and said, "How, master, how can I good?" He said, "Good master, how can I receive eternal life?" And what did Christ say? Why do you call me a good master, but only of who? Our creator, right? Our Yahuwah. Why do you call me a good master? And then he says, go and sell all your prized possessions, all your treasures, and then follow me. And what did the young man do? He was very upset. He was confused because why? He did not want to give his prideful. He was prideful of his what? His possessions, his treasures. So that means that when you have a lot, right? You feel like you have a lot to give away. That means that you don't want to lose what you have because it's too much. Let me repeat that one more time. People that have millions of dollars, right? The reason, like, look, if you are a millionaire, right? It doesn't matter if you're even in the 100,000 bracket. That means that you have more to give than for you to lose. So you won't have any problems when it comes to entering the kingdom of the heavens because why? You have nothing really to give. I already told you the objective of the economical subjugation. The Pharisees created this lifestyle that everybody now, well, not just the Pharisees, but the chief priests, the scribes, all of them, they created this lifestyle that everybody, it's not just being an American or being a European. No, that's not what a lifestyle is. The lifestyle is a living, is an imitation of something, of a life, right? Or you can say a lifestyle is an imitation of somebody's narrative or perspective on how they want you to live as what? As people. So a lot of us, we're living lifestyles because we choose to follow the trend. We choose to follow the YouTube people that are wearing a whole bunch of gold chains, going to the Met Galas, all of these things because why? People like watching this stuff on YouTube, TV, whatever the case is. Everything that everybody is doing out there, just because it looks good doesn't mean that it is good. Because how else do you think that these people have power? Do you think that, oh, because they go to church once a week, right? And then they say the word, oh God, that they have the Holy Spirit? No, because a lot of people don't even know the truth. That's why you have words like association, these secret associations, right? That come together, that create these problematic situations for it to even come together. I don't even like to say their name because it's irrelevant for me to speak of those things. Like the dream that I had, right? I was a target. It already happened, but I will bring it up here. I was a target. I don't think about certain things in my life, like sex. I could worry about that, but I don't worry about that. I don't worry about it. There are a lot of people that can't even have conversations, right? Intellectual conversations without getting into a debate, without getting into a dispute, without trying to just even trying to be trusting, faithful, loyal, or anything. So being like worrying about sex is the last thing in my mind. Because why? It says to be like Christ has told us to be like kids, to be like little ones, innocent, pure hearted. Because when you look at somebody with deviousness, right, that's all you're gonna be thinking about. And do you not think that, do you not know that when you think like that, you're opening doors for demonic possession? Because there's things that are called soul ties. And when you collide bodies with people, you capture and you open doors for their demons to come and manipulate you. So imagine you can't even fight your own demons because you don't know how to. You don't even know you got it. And then somebody just say, "Oh, let's go and collide bodies." Now you got an extra demon you don't even know you got to worry about. It's very crucial for us to understand these things. But let's continue. It says what? So hearing this in interest, they ask who they can be saved. And this is the disciples that asked Christ who can be saved. Christ told them, with the world it is impossible, but with Yahuwah all can be possible with each individual's personal journey with our Creator. So he's saying that people that are rich, they have a lot to give. So it would be way hard for people that have all of these riches and all of these things, Lamborghinis, that see all of these people that are homeless, that are foodless, clothless, right? That they pass them by every day. They flex every day. And when they have conversations, they can't talk about nothing else but money. Or if they try to talk about anything else, it's going to be based off of what they want. It's a narrative of control, of them to look better, always. Not even being humble. Not to even be humble. That's why I tell you guys, researches are very important. When you do research, right, ask the Holy Spirit to give you first discernment, because a lot of people talk, but they don't even know what discernment means. Discernment is not just listening to other people. It's about understanding something that other people cannot understand. It's about listening to the truth. And then when you listen to somebody tell you something, you know what the truth is. Not only that, you're going to get a prophet cannot tell you a vision about something that that your creator did not already tell you. So if you have a pastor, a minister that tell you about a dream before you get it, right? That means it was made to happen. But that don't mean that you're not going to have that dream. You already had the dream. You just didn't know what the dream meant. And all they're doing is reassuring. That means the same way with the Holy Spirit and people speaking in tongue. You cannot say that people are speaking in tongue when there's no translator. How can you speak in tongue and nobody understand? You're going to be too much in the spirit to even know what you're saying. There's always a translator. Always. This was talked about in what? Wasn't this said in Roman? I believe if it was not said in Roman, then I believe it was said in Peter. If not, in probably Thessalonian. One of those three. So we're looking at all of these things, right? It's very important that we have to really come together and understand more, right? Because when we're talking at how people are conjunctively, well, I say conjunctively, my apologies, how people are putting things in a narrative that don't make sense. We're just looking at the common ways of how people are living nowadays where it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. I have went through a period where you have people that want me to do things in life, right? But they're doing such a very slick way where the average person, they would have already been fall. They would have been fumbled. But imagine having somebody, I'm gonna give you an example. Imagine having somebody say that, all right, you can do music with us, right? You can join this record label, but then they're not gonna tell you that you can join this record label, right? You can do whatever, right? They put you through all these trials, right? And they bring women around you. They show you money, all of these fast life, right? Lifestyles, right? And you're not interested in none of that. You're just focusing on what you're supposed to focus on. Mind you, you got the talent to do it. So if they can replace you, remember this. This is going to be what I'm going to leave you guys with. If they can replace you, right? Why are they fighting so hard to want you? If there's not some, if there's no others, if there is no spirit of your creator in you, why are they fighting so hard to come after you? not anybody else. Remember, remember these devils, these demons, they don't attack nobody that's blind, because why would they? They can't put up a fight. They won't even know where to begin to put up a fight at. They're gonna try to they're gonna go and try to buy a cross, hire a priest to come and give them holy water and make an exorcism. Why do you think a lot of these priests, when they make exorcism, they speak in Latin, majority of them? If they don't speak in Latin, they're going to be doing all these extra stuff, and trust and believe. You have words that are called loopholes. So when you know language, you know you don't have no barrier language. You know exactly what you're doing. Like I said, they've been doing these practices way before Christ. So I'm going to end it right there, right? Nothing crazy, but just the truth. Because every single day we are moving forward, and remember that there's going to be war that's going to come. I keep reminding you guys, there's going to be war that's going to come. This United States is not going to let the imagery that these people, these governings, right, have placed upon these worlds, have placed upon these cornerstones of this exact place that we call, America, is going to come falling down. They're going to start with all of their puppets that are out there right now, that are basically being shown, that are basically being exposed. They're going to start with them. Then they're going to go to the capitalists, right? And they're going to show people how people are doing this in the higher ups of the agency of the governing, right? They're going to go with them. After that, things are going to get worse. So understand that war is coming. So if you really are not with Christ, trust and believe, you will get caught up in the actual delusion of this government and all the things that, because even in the Geneva Bible, because in the King James Bible, let me actually start with that. It doesn't talk about the governors, the vipers, but the Geneva talks about the governors. So why did they take the governors out? And then we have the word governor. And mind you, the word governor was not existent in a certain period of time. So that means that somebody did not want speculations of an ideal or an uprise to come. So they had to erase it. Let somebody rewrite it to their own knowledge so that it can make sense, and that it can basically not even include them in any of this, so people can acknowledge and accept exactly what they consider power, I'm not even going to say that name, but we're just going to take it as what you thought I said. From what I already said previous to my statement, take those hints. So we are in this, right? I'm gonna end this because it's getting almost close to 1 o'clock, right? But love you guys. A kiss on to you. And if somebody tell you they don't love you or they don't want my kiss, tell them they better take this kiss. All right. If somebody say they don't love you, tell them I say I love them and I love you. All right. Love you guys so much. Take care. Be favored. Be loving. Be trusting. Be understanding. Be wise. Be strengthened. In the name of Yahushua Yahusha, in him, out Yahuwah, out Elohim, out Adonai. Be present. Be woke. Don't be caught sleeping. All right? Much love to you. In truth.